It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
1 minute. Someone's keying their microphone. Roger. And 008, hold his heading.
T-52 cameras are on.
Winds are okay, Steve. Westerly at about 10 knots. Coming on. I'm indicating 004. How does that look? Looks good, Steve, and all systems are okay here. The winds are westerly at 10 knots. Okay. This is NASA 1 calling 10 seconds now. 10 seconds, roger. 0, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It looks good at NASA 1. Roger.
BCS arm switch is on.
Okay, Victor.
Landing rocket arm switch is on. Here comes the throttle. Chevy breakers in.
A man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him.
Good morning. Oh, come on. We're educators in this room. You can do better than that. You got 25 kids on a typical day sitting in front of you. Half asleep. Good morning. Just a little bit. He keeps trying to do the $6 million man. I really tried for the last couple of weeks to try to get him to do You Sexy Thing by Hot Chocolate. And we just couldn't align our thinking that way, and he wouldn't go for it. But I thought that would be a better introduction for me, but no luck. This morning, making superheroes, one educator at a time, it all starts with you. I applaud the fact that you're here today. That's a start. And, I find those key people in my building, and I let them know that it starts with one. The power of one, and then you build that army. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But I think the most important thing, 3 really important things to remember. The impact you have on others can far outlast the time you spend on Earth. That's just something to think about. And today, I challenge you to take a couple things that you hear, and you may not agree with all of it, but a couple things that you hear today that are now become part of you when you leave here today. And that's just a good reminder, and I remind myself of that message all the time. Be mindful of what you do or you don't do. Be mindful of what you say and you don't say. And I'll explain that a little bit. When you're confronting difficult situations dealing with kids, how many times have you seen somebody, just raise a hand real quick, if you've seen people kind of underplay it, blow it off, or ignore it? Raise your hand. We've all seen it. We may even be guilty of it. Those are real difficult situations. Making a phone call, calling a parent, asking a parent to come in, and saying something critical or negative about that child. Parent doesn't want to hear it. Parent may not agree with it. Parent may deny it. It's an uncomfortable situation. So a lot of times people turn that blind eye, or they underplay it and say, it's not a big deal. It's kids being kids. We hear that all the time. Kids need to be able to trust you. They need to be able to trust you. And that's about relationships. So that's really what I'm going to talk about today, but I'm going to start by telling you my story. I was a classroom teacher for 17 years, coached sports all the way from the youth through the high school varsity level. And on February 9th in 2004, you may not remember this, some of you may, a student got back into the high school. We were under construction, and student got in, went in the bathroom stall, had a backpack, assembled a shotgun, and the bell rang. And kids changed classes, kids went into the bathroom, and you remember those times. They see the 2 feet underneath the stall door, they kicked the door open. Student was in there assembling a shotgun. Came out shooting the shotgun, shot ceiling tiles out, shot the cement pillars out. The assistant principal at that time heard the noise, went into lockdown. Principal went up the stairs, saw the student passing, tackled the student, tried to get the gun away from the student, asked for help. A special education teacher who's a very good friend of mine, he was an assistant coach in football, came out of the classroom to help. The gun went off, teacher got shot in the leg, and nobody could believe that. Think about the panic parents had that day to get that message. I was in middle school at the time, and one of our children was running a temperature, so I went to the pharmacy to get some Motrin. Bad parent. If I load them up with Motrin, maybe he'll make it through the day. Dad and mom can't take another day off. My wife's a teacher as well. And I couldn't get back in my building because that building was in lockdown. So absolute panic in our community. You know, the place that it could never happen there, it could never happen there. And at that point, the high school was in such chaos that the superintendent pulled me out of my classroom. I had my admin degree, and he put me in the high school as a dean of students. And I handled all discipline, safe and orderly environment. And it was amazing because at that time we averaged about 300, 350 students per class. And I probably, from that point of the year to the end of the year, got to know about 75. The chronic offenders. 5-for-1s, I called them. 5 days out, 1 day in, 5 days out, 1 day in, 5 days out. And what I saw was the same thing that you see. A lack of a connection, lack of that student feeling like they belong, the student not feeling like they could succeed anyway, and having outside factors that contributed to their attitude when they came to school. I'd run into people and they'd say, "Oh, you're at the high school. Do you know my daughter? Do you know my son?" And, you know, really I'd be like, "Well, do they get in trouble?" Because if they get in trouble, I know them. Okay? So bad that, you know, they are videotaping this. I may be unemployed next week. But I had a couple of those students in my office. They got thrown out of class. They had to pass an exam to graduate. I was Googling the questions and giving the student the answer so the student could pass the test. I know, I'm getting that look. Health education. God forbid the kid couldn't pass a high school health exam and it was going to hold him back from graduating. That would be productive for him. And I'm a school administrator. I get it. Just a show of hands, how many of you are thrilled with the APPR? I'll ask the question again. Yeah, maybe you didn't understand. The new teacher evaluation system, just by a show of hands, how many are really thrilled with that? What a crock, right? My best teacher in my building, the state gave her a level 2 one time. I avoided the subject. She'd be, "Did the scores come in?" I'd be like, "I don't think so. I haven't seen them." Didn't even want to tell her. Didn't even want to tell her. News Channel 13 top teacher, our school district's educator of the year, a Rensselaer County educator of the year. The state believes you're a level 2. You want to know why? She didn't have any special ed students in her class. The kids were all level 3s and level 4s the year before, and it's the growth model. The state, with some formula, didn't think the students made enough growth in 1 year. At that point, APPR and testing took a back seat in my school. It's not the thing that should drive our bus. Taking care of kids is what should be driving our bus. My takeaway, and probably what formed my thoughts, are the things that I've seen in 29 years as an educator. It is about making meaningful connections with kids. Meaningful. How many of you know what their life is about when they leave your school? And I'll give you some statistics a little bit later, but it is about total wellness, being proactive. The next step, I went from the dean of students to the assistant principal at the high school, and I got to be honest, I actually regretted going into administration. Hindsight being 20/20, I'd rather stay in the classroom because that's where the best connections with students were made for me. And I approach everything as an educator. When people ask, what do you do? I don't tell them I'm a principal. I do tell them, I'll get to it. I do say something new now, but it's just kind of cool. But I tell them I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher because I take tremendous pride in that. I really do. But July 1st, 2007, I became the principal of Belltop Elementary School. And I got to be honest, our culture in that building is kids first. Kids first. We're a reward school. High achieving, that's great. Parents like it. We're a reward school. Our kids do well. But that whole building, we have a culture that took time to establish, but it's kids first in that culture, in that school culture. But think about it. July 1st, I started, new building, new staff, new faculty, new school community, and trying to develop a plan. And I worked July and August trying to get prepared, trying to understand what the culture of that building was and where I would fit in. Where I would fit in. You know, because the best dreams and the best goals of a building administrator become a teacher's nightmare that they're living. Because you go too far, too fast, and you got to find out where you fit in, where that school culture is, and try to tweak it a little bit and move it forward. But I was excited. Couldn't wait for that first day of school as a building principal. And on the very first day of school, and you probably do the same thing, we took our annual family picture. My wife's a kindergarten teacher, 4 kids, everybody out in the front porch. Get that picture before you get on the bus. Get that picture before I go to work at that 7:15 a.m., September 6, 2007. Less than 15 minutes later, East Greenbush principal seriously injured in a head-on crash. I didn't make it a mile from my house. A former student that was in the classroom right across the hallway from me in middle school, who was arrested 3 days prior, September 30, was arrested for being under the influence of heroin, crossed the double yellow line with a pickup truck and hit me head on. Wide awake in that vehicle. All I was worried about was the night before, the director of transportation called up and told me she changed the order of the buses. So I was telling the first responder, can you call Belltop and let them know that the bus changed and here's the lineup. It took them over an hour to get me out of that vehicle. 2 high school students that I coached in football were in the car behind me, came up to help me. I went to unroll the window just to realize that all my fingers were bent backwards, and realizing that my ankle was facing another way. And really the result of that was I had 14 surgeries from that car accident. I spent over 100 nights in Albany Med. Things that I really enjoyed were temporarily taken away from me. Pretty physically fit. I was involved doing some jiu-jitsu, still doing some wrestling, went to the gym. The toll it took on my family. My son, my youngest son, my oldest son was going to the middle school for the first day. My youngest son was starting kindergarten that day. And my wife heard a knock on the door, and it was a police officer from the high school. And my wife thought she was coming just to kind of tease me a little bit because I left the high school and I was going to an elementary school, just to find out that I was in that automobile accident. You know, the recovery was brutal. I broke both legs. I had all kinds of internal injuries. They put rods in my legs. I got an infection in one of the legs from laying in the hospital for 3 or 4 days with 2 broken legs before they could even do the surgery, just to stabilize me. But the takeaways, the benefits, absolutely change your perspective. Talk about perspective. I'm not encouraging you to go out and get in an automobile accident. Really, I would frown on that, but it changed my perspective. Things that used to bother me don't bother me. They really don't. When you're driving in that car and the car cuts you off and they give you the middle finger and you give them the middle finger back, I don't do that anymore. I don't roll the window and say, I'm sorry. I don't even know what I did. But I figured they're having a really bad day. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're giving me the middle finger. I'm sorry. It just doesn't bother me. Things that just aren't important anymore. But I bounced back, you know, and I thought, hey, it's over. I'm feeling great. Got back in the gym. Jason mentioned it the last time, but I got written up in a men's fitness magazine. I was feeling pretty good. Thought it was over. March 2016, I refereed the Section 2 championships up in the Glens Falls Civic Center. Wasn't feeling really well. Wasn't feeling good. I knew something was up. Something's just going on. I just don't feel well. April 2016, 1 month later, diagnosed with osteosarcoma in my right leg. Tough decisions to make. Doctors throwing statistics at you. We could try to do limb salvage. You got this percentage of a shot that it might come back in your lungs or somewhere else. We could amputate your leg. Really easy decision. I got a wife and 4 kids. Take the leg. Take the leg. And the picture to the right is, I think, the day after surgery. It was kind of funny because, when I talk about changing my perspective, when I was in the recovery room, I went to Boston, and really quick, 5 o'clock in the morning, takes me away, take your wedding band off. I didn't want to take my wedding band off. They made me take the wedding band off. I wake up in recovery, and the recovery room nurses tap me on the shoulders, and she's, Mr. McHugh, you're in the recovery room now. Are you okay? And I said, no, me being me. And she said, what's the matter? I said, I can't find my leg. She ran out of the recovery room. I had everything from head shrinks and everything else back. I was like, I'm just kidding, man. I know where it is. June, I started chemotherapy, and in August, I had my surgery, and then I thought about how I want to be seen by others. So the picture with my Sweethearts and Heroes t-shirt, that's the first trip to the orthotic and prosthetic company. So I figured I'd take my picture, and I went right back to the gym, missing a leg. I didn't care. People were looking at me like, this guy's crazy. The important things are, I thought about how I want others to see me. And we think nothing's going to happen. And some of you sitting here have probably experienced tragedies. Some of you maybe not. I guarantee everyone will. Everyone will. The students that walk in your door, some of them are living in a tragedy. Some of them have experienced it. Some of them may experience it. But I think about, we are in a position which allows us to impact so many others. Teaching, working with young adults, children, it's got to be seen as a privilege with very unique responsibilities. And I really do believe this, and I say this over and over again, and I don't even care if it offends someone. If it offends someone, that someone better take a deep look inside themselves. I don't care if we're working with kids, we are not in some factory assembling some product. We're working with kids. And I don't care how bad of a day someone's having. I'm sorry if you had an argument with your spouse in the morning. I'm sorry if your car broke down. Leave it in the parking lot. When you walk in that school building, you owe those kids your very best. It's the responsibility that you took on. And I feel bad sometimes talking to this audience because obviously you care. Obviously you care. And this is going on film, and I don't really care. Subtle message. I've got one that's an 8:45 to a 3:45. Comes in at 8:45, just when you have to be, leaves at 3:45. I walk my kids, every kid, to the school bus at the end of the day, making connections. And she's walking out with them. So I always look at her and go, hey, did you take the school bus today? I don't get a Christmas card from her. We have an opportunity and a privilege to make an impact every day. It's true. What kind of impact do you want to make? And I know a couple of you already are like, this guy's crazy. Where'd they find him? Crazy's good. These are my loving friends and family that sent me all these wonderful things. The lamp from A Christmas Story. Somebody had a new Halloween costume for me. Somebody made a badge for IHOP. At least I'm a manager. Brutal. I was telling the guys, I've got one teacher in my building that I really like, a young guy, and he puts so much effort into people not knowing that he's a really passionate, great guy and loves kids. He just puts his attitude out there. But you see him in the classroom, and the guy's dynamite. Fantastic. Loves kids. He's great. I'm hobbling around trying to figure out how to walk with a prosthetic leg, and he goes, you walk like that when you had your leg. He's a level 2. You know, a big message, and this is kind of taking care of you, and you figure out how you can maintain that positive attitude, is enjoy every moment. Choose to be happy. Here's some facts. Negative thoughts create negative energy. You thinking about negative stuff, you got negative energy. The human mind cannot be both thankful and negative at the same time. You find the things that you're thankful for. Find the things that motivate you. I get up some mornings, and I'm going to be honest, I have a horrible day. I can't get the prosthetic leg to stay on. I just went back to work 3 weeks ago. And having a difficult time, the leg's not fitting. I get the leg on, it's a vacuum seal, and I was losing vacuum. Is anyone familiar with what sound effect that makes when you lose vacuum? Welcome back to the building. My wife was like, did you tell anybody? Tell them what? Tell them, what am I going to tell them? It wasn't me. I mean, tough times. But I find those things that keep me going, and I'm thankful. My wife, I lost all my hair. The nurse, the oncology nurse said, listen, you're going to lose all your hair on day 17. Guess what happened on day 17? I lost all my hair, so I borrow hers. We just sit tight and I throw it over there. But that's kind of a funny story too, because you had to go to like chemotherapy camp, and the lady comes in with a straight face. My wife and I are sitting there, and she tells me all the things that are going to happen and all the things that could possibly happen. Well, that was like a 2-hour meeting, to the point that you'd be like, well, what the hell am I getting chemotherapy for? This is horrible. One of the side effects, possible side effects, you could lose your hearing. I did. I lost my hearing. I see that as a positive. I mean, you're laughing, but that person in the faculty that you'll go the other way. You'll take the stairs, go down the floor, walk around the outside of the building, go back in a window to get in just to avoid them. It's true. Debbie Downer, get the hell away from me. I take Debbie Downer on face to face because I can't hear a goddamn thing she says. Have a good day. Doesn't matter. So I went back to work 3 weeks ago, and I just kind of like this. This is kind of cool. I'm back. Special assignment. Now, all of you work in the field of education, you know what special assignment means. I'm currently housed in the school district's file room. It's awesome. I'm surrounded by file cabinets. There's a water jug in the counters in the corner, so everybody that wants to get water comes in and interrupts. But I think it's kind of cool. People say, what are you doing right now? You back in your building? I'm like, a special assignment. I don't tell them what that is, but I'm living the dream right now. Good days and not so good days. That picture to your left is the leg. It's got the sweatpants down on the right. I figured I got to go back to the building. I got to get healthy again. The leg was staying on. I was feeling confident. I said, I'm going on the pull-up bar. Around pull-up 1.5, the leg went whoop with my sweatpants. So you ask yourself, what do? I finished my pull-ups. I left the leg over by the check-in desk where people put their coats and their car keys, and I said, I'm going to finish my workout. There's a one-legged guy hopping around the gym with boxer shorts on. They don't let me in there anymore. I get crazy questions. I go back and people don't know what to say. It's awkward. I love this one. This is true. People say, did you lose your leg? And I, with a straight face, go, no, it's at Harvard Medical College, which it is. Everybody's got goals. My leg's in Harvard. How many of you been to Harvard? Another good one, and this is really kind of funny. I get this one a lot. People come up to me and go, and this is true. A woman said to me, did you have the cancer? And I say, no. I just really got tired of trying to find a parking spot at the mall. I figured, listen, man, I'm a hot commodity at Christmas time. Jimmy, you want to go to the mall? Yeah. In the building where I am the principal, the principal that's filling in for me right now had a family emergency, and I've been in that building the last 2 days. And this is kind of a funny story, but this is how often it happens. A student got thrown out of class, came to the office, and I brought him in to talk to him. And the first thing I do is I don't sit behind the desk. Think of a young 4th grade child coming in, sitting there. I get up out of my seat, and I bring myself around to the same side of the desk that he's at, and I sit right next to him. And I talk to him eye to eye, not behind a desk. So 29 years of experience, I give him my best car sales pitch, talking to him. And what does he say? Why are you walking like that? And I told him, because I'm flat out gangster. He smiled, and he started to talk to me what the issue was. He was having problems with his peers. But when it came down to it, brand new student, living with his aunt, and he hasn't made any friends in this school yet. Also a student of color in a predominantly school of white children. That came through conversation. You flip it and you think about what it's like for him. Important stuff. My message to you, the work that you chose to do is too important not to do it well. It's too important. You can make or break a kid. I've got 2nd generation students now. I had their moms and their dads in school. And it's amazing what some of those adults now come back and say to me. You can make the difference. And making the difference for even one student, you made a career. You made a career. You saved somebody. You helped somebody. It's hard work, and it's even getting harder. That's a fact. It really is. It's getting harder. You obviously care you're here. And don't ever lose sight of what's important, even if others do. If they're so hung up on level 3s and level 4s and ignoring the whole child, don't lose sight of what you believe in. You're here. You can start developing a school culture that you believe in. You find those people that are like-minded. You find those fence sitters, and you get them to come to your side of the fence. And you slowly build your army. Those people that you can't get on your side, you know you can't get on your side, don't give them your energy. They're energy suckers. They are. I've won a couple over by pulling them in and saying, hey, could you get on this, trying to get them to see the light. Those others, they're never going to see the light. They're just not. Build your army little by little. This is new. How many are familiar with the SCI, School Climate Index? It's going to be part of your APPR, okay? Currently, there's a pilot going on, School Climate, New York State Education Department, pilot program to evaluate school climate and the potential effect it may have on chronic absenteeism. Initial data that will help drive a future statewide rollout and the creation of the School Climate Index, SCI. They're going to look at your VADERS, violent and disruptive incident reports. They're going to look at your Dignity for All Students acts, yearly reporting. And the goal is to reduce disciplinary incidents and absenteeism, to nurture safe and healthy schools and increase student achievement, engagement. United States Department of Education is going to provide valid and reliable surveys necessary for the project. Students grades 5 and up are going to be surveyed, along with school personnel, parents, guardians, and community members. And you think about how perspective is formed. If they're not feeling safe at school and they're not feeling welcomed in school, where do you think your school climate index is going to be? Helsinki, Finland. In a recent poll of 550 students in Helsinki, Finland, kids were asked, what are the most important factors, things that help them learn and enjoy their time in school? Not a rocket scientist. Top responses: friendship, respect, kindness, and a peaceful environment. The reason why you're here today, are the things that are going to help these things. They're going to improve your school climate. I say it all the time. I don't care what the rules are in your house. Your mom doesn't make the rules in this house. Your dad doesn't make the rules in your house. These are non-negotiables. This is unacceptable behavior. We don't tolerate it here. The other part is the next day is a new day. No grudges. Kids are developing. Kids are growing. Kids make mistakes. We make mistakes. Start anew. Make the connection. Randy Weingartner, AFT, American Federation of Teachers, the president, came out with an article, I think just in the last month, 4 pillars for successful schools. Common traits among all schools that are working as they should. Look at the number 1. Promoting children's well-being. Emotionally, socially, physically, and academically. Focusing on the whole child's needs, meeting all kids' needs by coordinating partnerships and resources. Mental health counseling, parent resource centers, food pantries, community health clinics. How can a child come to school ready to learn when they haven't eaten? How can a child, come into your classroom, sit down, and be successful for the day and focus on their academics when they don't know who the hell is going to be in their house when they get off the bus? Are you aware of it? Do you even know? Those are important things. The facts. We're in the people business. We're in the people business. My oldest son is in his 3rd year for computer and engineering, not in the people business. He's going to be making gadgets and widgets or whatever he does. We are in the people business. We have experiences in our past that drove us into the field of education. Sometimes we have to dig a little deeper and find that passion again and figure out how to reignite the passion, because what we're doing is absolutely critical for our students. Sadness and grief are normal human emotions. Depression, a loss of interest in things that used to bring pleasure. If untreated, depression can lead to serious complications that put your life at risk. I'm just giving you these facts to think about. 350 million people worldwide suffer from depression. Leading cause of disability. No single cause for depression. Affects 1 in 10 Americans. Over 80% of the people that have symptoms of depression are not receiving any treatment. That's encouraging for parent-teacher conferences, isn't it? But it's true. The number of patients diagnosed with depression has increased approximately 20% a year. It's getting worse. The things that we attend to, the things that we give focus to, the things that we give energy to, are the things that get fixed and the things that improve. But we're ignoring the whole child. Mental illness, 1 out of 5 adults. 20% of our youth, ages 13 through 18, suffer some sort of mental illness. 13% of ages 5 through 12. 50% of those students diagnosed with mental illness drop out of school. It's part of your school climate index. 90% of those who die by suicide were found to suffer from 1 or more mental illnesses. MIT, I say it all the time, most important task. It's not your ELA curriculum, it's not your math curriculum, it's not the next generation science standards. It's real simple. Take care of kids. Take care of kids. I'll ask you another question because I got the right audience. Show of hands. How many have reached in your own pockets, pocketbooks, to go get something for a child in your class that they needed? All the time. How many of you get an attaboy for that? Nobody. All the things that get unnoticed. My wife had a little girl in her class that couldn't see the board, couldn't see the books. My wife she had glasses that were all busted up. Mother couldn't get the glasses, didn't really care to get the glasses. My wife took the glasses and got the glasses fixed. We do those things all the time. We've took a pair of sneakers and stuck it in the kid's cubby, didn't say anything, found a coat, put it in the cubby. Of the more than 44,000 suicide deaths in the U.S. reported in 2015, 1,700 were young adults ages 14 through 18. That came from the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention. In a Center for Disease Control survey given to more than 15,000 public and private high school students nationwide in 2015, nearly 18% of students in grades 9 through 12 reported they had seriously considered attempting suicide during the preceding 12 months. Nearly 15% of those students said that they made a plan about how they would attempt suicide. So they took it even a step further. 9% said they had attempted suicide one or more times. Roughly 3% of those students had made a suicide attempt in the previous 12 months that required medical attention. Reasons: mental illness, depression, bipolar disorder, impulsive aggression when frustrated, dysfunctional family environment, intense parent-child conflict, physical abuse, sexual abuse, struggles with sexual orientation, gender identity, social problems, bullying, low confidence. How many of you have a strong enough relationship with your students that if your student was suffering or challenged by some of these issues, that they would even come and talk to you about it? Have you formed that kind of relationship? And think about schools right now. I mean, I really do. It amazes me. When you do the annual budget, how many of you get the fear about the upcoming school budget? Of all the things that schools might lose because of a lack of funding. Are you experiencing that? What are the first things that go? Non-mandated services, right? School social worker, non-mandated service. We have a new superintendent, phenomenal guy. Phenomenal guy. He is centered on the whole child. Our libraries, an elementary school library, open 3 days every other week. Mind-boggling. A library in a school, we have a librarian that comes to our school every other week for 3 days. That's insane. That's getting fixed. Got a new boss that's crazy. Our libraries will be open. They're open, there's just no librarian, or there's no library clerk currently. That'll change. School social worker. When I first went into our building, we had a school social worker 1 day a week. You know, what do I say to the parents? Dear Belltop families and students, welcome back to school. Just want to give you an FYI. If you're going to have a crisis, it's going to have to happen on Monday. It's the only day we have a school social worker. Monday, crisis day. She's there now 4 days a week. The goal is to have her there every day. Every day. You know, but our students come to us with many needs. We don't know. Home situations, unsafe home environment, family or personal crisis, illness, living in poverty. I mean, the new term is double uppers. Are you familiar with that term? Family got displaced, lost their house, moved in with a relative. I mean, we see a lot of that. Abuse, depression, mental illness, coming to school hungry, in need of health care services, homeless, temporary housing, in need of English language learning support. How well do we know our students, and how well do we know what they're dealing with at home? I mean, all of us have those students that have to go to the nurse first thing in the morning to get cleaned up, washed up, change their clothes. They come in the next day, their clothes they had the previous day are cleaned, and we put their clothes back on them. No contact from the parent. Not asking, why are they coming home with different clothes on? What happened? Nothing. No contact. I pay lunch accounts every year. Food services are crazy. They have a negative balance of $36. They're not going to get a hot lunch today. They're going to have to get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Here's the money to cover their lunch charge. Give them their hot lunch. I mean, it's crazy. The truths, we choose our profession. We have responsibilities as educators and as people. We're role models for others. I mean, people ask me, you seem pretty positive after all you've been through. I spent 29 years in a career telling kids to suck it up. Push through. You're okay. Things will be all right. I better walk the walk. I think that's kind of funny, walk the walk, because it's hard to walk the walk gangster style all day long. Resources needed to help students support students are not adequately available. We're all facing that challenge. So it's not just the school social worker's job. It's not the school nurse's job. It's all of our job. They're all our students. And we're going to have to do things that we didn't know that we were probably going to have to do as educators. Things that weren't really covered in those courses. We need to understand what's really important. Academic pressure, a real challenge today, APPR, and I say it all the time. For me, the APPR and student scores and achievement and growth, those things are going to take place if we're doing the foundational things and attending to those things, and those are our front burner issues. The rest will fall in place. And the APPR, it's not an I got you kind of moment for me. I'm in my teachers' classrooms every single day. I know what's going on. I don't walk in with a pen and a pad. I'm not taking notes. I'm there. Hey, how are you? Hello. If I'm not interrupting the teacher, I like to ask the students, hey, what are you working on? What are you doing? I find more information and have a better handle on my staff just from those little moments. I'm kind of a little bit of a rebel. They developed all these forms for the formal observation. You got to fill out these forms before your formal observation. You got to use this lesson plan. You got to have this post-observation plan. Folks are going to fill out all those forms for the day of their formal observation. And if you can't hit the ball out of the park for a formal observation that you scheduled and you told me what time to come in, we got a problem. What really tells me the truth is those little informal drop-ins. 3 minutes here, 4 minutes there, 5 minutes there. Stop in a kindergarten class, sit down, run one of their groups. Get to know your students. Those things tell me everything. I tell my staff, it's not an I got you moment. If I walk in and something's going a little crazy because I want you to take care of kids. If I'm scheduled to come in your room at 9:20 to do a formal observation and you have a student in crisis, take care of the student in crisis. Forget the formal observation. Tell me to get out and come back another day. No problem. No problem. Take care of kids. Really, getting to know your students and families and caring for others, kindness. I really do believe in that. That real Debbie Downer, hit her with kindness. It's like shock therapy. Whoa, you came back kind. And then she still tries to be Debbie Downer and be rude again. Hit her with kindness again. Hit her with kindness again. Hit her with kindness again. She'll start avoiding you like you got the plague. Courage. People struggle. We must have the courage and energy and commitment to promote and establish a better place for others. It's what it's about. It's what it's about. Addressing things of concern right away. It's too easy to ignore. It's too easy to blow off. I just don't have the energy today. Figure out ways to get the energy back. I'll give you a strategy that I use. This is really good. It's called the soda machine strategy. I'm having a really bad day. I take a bunch of change out of my drawer or out of my ashtray in the car or out of my pocket, and I go in the staff room and I shove the change into the soda machine. And I wait for a staff member to come in and they get their soda and then they reach in and see all the change. It's like they hit Mega Millions. They got $1.25 worth of change. I thought $1.25 got a free Diet Pepsi. To see them that happy kind of, gives me a little bit more energy. I love that strategy. So perspective often comes through learned experiences. Be aware of how we spend our time. And I think this is really, really important. Are you focusing and spending your time and energy on the things that are really important? And think about how our students spend their time and what they're filling their heads with. What's the number one babysitter in America right now? Yeah, video games, television. Think about that. Be aware of how our children are spending their time. What are they filling their heads with? Is it garbage or is it quality stuff? And I'll give you an example. Power of the Media. Any idea what the number one watched TV show was in 1963? Take a guess. Beverly Hillbillies. 34.9% of all American households watched the Beverly Hillbillies. 2009, any idea what the number one show was? Just to give you an idea. American Idol. But only 9.1%. Anybody have an idea quick why? 34.9% of American households watched the Beverly Hillbillies in 1963. More people were watching American Idol in 2009, but only 9.1% of households. Less choice. How many channels did they have in 1963? Yeah, now they have everything, right? I mean, my youngest child of 4 is my daughter. Just to sit back and watch a little TV with her, sometimes it's a challenge. I feel uncomfortable and I'm reaching for the remote to change the channel. There's stuff on the Disney that has these underlying kind of tones or themes, and it creates some awkward moments. You know, it's hard to find something, but you think about it. Just think about this. Of what people think is acceptable now. Acceptable language, it's okay that they said that. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. Oh, it's kids being kids. But you think about it. Production code of the Motion Picture Association. Back in the 60s, the dialogue could not include any stronger profanity than hell or damn. Couldn't take the name of the Lord in vain or ridicule religion. Nothing related to the sex act. Actors couldn't be seen naked, nor could they dance in a way that bore any resemblance to a sexual actions. Movies had to show that crime doesn't pay. Today, anything goes. Anything goes. People start to think that's the way people really live. It's not. You know, I'll give you another strategy. Anybody familiar with the fork strategy? You know, listen, we all have our moments. Is anybody familiar with the fork strategy? I'll give you the fork strategy, but you know, I'm a realist. We have those bad days. We go home and we self-reflect, and sometimes we say, you know, I kind of blew it today with so-and-so, or you feel bad that you lost your patience or didn't have your patience, or that there's that child that's absolutely torturing you. How many brave souls are in the middle school? God bless all of you. God bless all of you. I'd rather have my head sewn to the carpet than spend time in the middle school. It's a hormonal cesspool in the middle school. Those days that you're really having a hard time, all you need to do is bring a fork to school. Bring a fork to school. And when that child's torturing you and they've emptied your energy tank, you're depleted, you're plumb out of ideas, plumb out of strategies, sit down at your desk, sit back, take the fork out, hold the fork, and imagine what they look like in jail. There goes your energy tank again. You find a little humor, a little moment, and then you pull yourself back and say, it's my responsibility to try to reach him. I can do it, but I had my little humor. It's a great strategy. That one works. I carry this everywhere with me. So if you see me out somewhere and you see me going, you know what I'm thinking. That person that drives by and gives me the middle finger, I just come up to the traffic light and go. Value of silent time. Think about it. Implement morning routines, a time of reflection. Visualize yourself having a successful day. I used to use this with my athletes. Visualize yourself winning. What's it look like? What's it feel like? Start the morning out right. Visualize yourself having a successful day. I do believe that the sooner you accomplish something positive in the morning, the more apt you are to have a good day. Make your bed. Make your bed. You know, have a to-don't list. Think about that. We all have to-do lists. Have a to-don't list. Think about the things that just aren't going to happen that day. I mean, that's powerful. A to-don't list. The behaviors that you want to avoid. And the most important thing, really, and I hope, you know, and I know that it's going to be easy because I'm speaking to the right group, be student-centered. Care for the student. Compliment 3 people every day in a meaningful and sincere way. It's got to be meaningful and sincere. Tom Murphy told me I look great. It's got to be meaningful. It's got to be sincere. He's like, yeah, you look good. You look good. I wasn't sincere, Tom. Wasn't sincere. When I went back to my building, one of my favorite teachers goes, do you feel all right? You look sick again. She scared the hell out of me. I hobbled gangster style all the way to the bathroom. I took a good look at myself in the mirror. Am I all right? Do I have it again? Work to create a shared vision. Build an army. You know, if you came here today with someone else from your school, you're an army. Go find other people to get in your army. Find the right people. Create positive energy. Encourage, model, accomplish. Display passion, energy, commitment, consistency. All important stuff. My recent sweetheart moments, and I'm sure they're going to talk about this a lot, but you find sweethearts all the time. You find heroes all the time. You see them. And I pay more attention to it now that I've been around Tom, Rick, and Jason. That's a sweetheart moment. That's a hero. The other day, Saturday, I was in a park. We went to go grab something to eat, and my leg wouldn't stay on. And I was holding the leg on. I was really in some pain. And I sent my wife and my daughter ahead, and I was taking a couple steps at a time, and I would wait. And a lady came up to me and said, "Are you all right, honey? Do you need some help?" I mean, those sweethearts, you encounter them all the time. They're out there. You're not alone. But the two sweethearts that I really want to acknowledge first is my wife, of course. She hasn't missed a medical appointment yet. And we were very fortunate. In the district I worked in, they gave me a 1-year medical leave of absence, and I was getting paid. I could be home. I chose to go back to work about 3.5 weeks ago because it's my passion. It's what I want to do. The funny part was my wife asked me, hey, she was on a leave of absence to take care of me, and she said, if you go back, do I have to go back? She's a kindergarten teacher, so you can imagine going back to a kindergarten classroom in March, but she hasn't missed a medical appointment, and she just allows me to be, She knows I'm going to have my moments of frustration. She tries to diminish the likelihood that I'm going to have those moments, but she's never made me feel, awkward or uncomfortable in all that I've been through. So definitely one of my sweethearts. And my nurse, Amy. This lady's incredible. She took care of me every time I went to chemo, and I'd have 3 full days of chemo, 18 days off, 3 days of chemo. I'd have to go in and get blood work done, rehydrate. I was seeing her 4 or 5 times a week. She could read me. She cared. She took care of me. She had that way about her. But the thing that stuck with me, the most incredible thing, is she gets 3 weeks off a year. She saves them for the summer so that she can volunteer at the Double H Ranch. Those people are out there. That's incredible. I mean, this isn't that lady's job. It's her. It's her passion. Those people are there. They're there. I want to thank you. And I got to be honest, I am a morning person, but I couldn't think of a better reason to come somewhere and talk and share some information because, this is my passion, and I really do believe in it. I look at the news, and I see the things that are on TV, and I try not to even watch the news. It's depressing. But then I have to change my perspective and remind myself that there are some great people out there. And you're in a position where you can make more great people. And I really do wish you the best, and I greatly appreciate you listening. And I'll tell you what, go build your armies. Thanks a ton.